Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is a continuation of the Sebastian Lague tutorial on procedurally generated planets. If you haven't seen that yet, I don't think you're going to understand this, and I highly recommend you check it out. I will put it in the video description. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hello YouTube, welcome back. I am super excited for today's video. We're going to be making water and detail on our terrain for the random plant generation. I think this is going to be the last episode that I do for this. But yeah, I'm super excited. I got it actually looking pretty decent for the most part, so I'm super stoked to be sharing my findings with all of you. So yeah, let's get it started. So we're going to go right off into the planet shader in the shader graph. And we're going to start by adding, we'll do just the water stuff first. So we're going to need a couple of different things here. We're going to need a vector 1 that is water noise strength. So I'll try to keep it consistent and name stuff like with the lowercase. I think one of my shaders, the atmosphere shader, I might have accidentally done everything in caps, just because this is the original Sebastian Lague shader stuff, so this is not my normal naming conventions, so I'm sorry about that, but I'll try to keep that consistent now. And we're going to need a texture 2D, and we're going to call this just water noise. Under here, water noise. Ooh. And mode here, we're going to choose bump map because it's going to be a bump map. And for the texture, I imported this wave normal texture. Let's slide this off the screen to show you for a second. This thing right here, and it's just a regular, normal map texture. I can provide it in the link, the GitHub link. But honestly, you guys could also just grab one from online. It is extremely easy to find them, but I will provide that for you. And so after that, we're going to need a few more things. So we're going to need, oh, it's over here. Okay. We're going to need two vector 2 variables. One of them is going to be called water scroll underscore water scroll. And then another vector 2 called water text scale. Look at that. I did the capital again. Damn. Water text scale. Okay. So the defaults for some of these, we already chose the normal map for the default. For the water noise strength, we're going to do 1. For the water scroll, we're going to do -0.1, 0.15. And for water text scale, we're also just going to do 1, 1. And so basically the idea here that we want to do is just for the water, we want to have normal maps applied. But if it's not water, then eventually we're going to have terrain normal maps applied. So what we can do with this is very similar actually to what we've already done with this sampler here. So we're going to sample the texture in a very similar way, except instead of using the planet texture, we're going to use the water noise texture. And we're actually going to use pretty much the same exact UV set. We're going to use these UVs, actually. We don't want to use the special UV things that we do for the coloring. So we're going to drag this out and say vector 2. And drag the G into the Y. It's pretty much Y, actually. It's the same thing. But and then, so this is going to represent the... Actually, no, I'll connect this first so you can visualize it. So normally what you would do after this, we have bump chosen here, so it's okay to have this as a default because we have already declared it as a bump map there. So normally what you do is you unpack the normals. And so what that does is, as you can see, it shows you kind of what the normals look like, which is good. And then we would normally just we would normally just stick that there. And I will save real quick and show you what that does. So as you can see, it applies it to everything, including the terrain. It applied it to all of it, which we don't want. So what we can do is, because we have this, because our UV's Y channel represents the elevation, we can actually grab that and we can create a branch. I hate how it pastes it back over there. That makes no sense. But yeah, so we can create a branch. So we have this as the parameter, and it's a comparison, I think. Yeah. And the comparison is going to be less than. So if A, aka if our elevation is less than 0, which means if it's water, then we can have a branch. If it's less than 0, we would like to use our tangent that we our normals that we calculate. Otherwise, for now, we're just going to leave it at 1, 1, 1, which obviously won't look correct completely, but that's because we're not going to worry about it right now. We're going to drag this branch into normal now. And so now we have this set up. So when we save it and I show you the scene, you can see the terrain looks a little bit weird because of the normals that I've defined, but at the same time you can also tell that the bump map texture is not being applied to them. So that part is working nice and dandy. So now what we want to do is make use of some of these other variables. So we have water noise strength, which what we're going to do with that is in between the unpacking of the normal and sampling of the texture, we are going to do a multiply. We're going to multiply this by this, and out comes this. So there you go. So you can tell that it hasn't been unpacked yet because of the way it looks. So it gets unpacked there. And this is going to let us change the strength of the normal. And then we also want to use, I named water text scale completely wrong. What the hell is that? Okay. So we have water text scale. And so with water text scale and water scroll, what we're going to do is basically just allow us to kind of change the look of the water by like controlling how much of the texture gets displayed per fragment. And so to do that, we're going to do another multiply. We're going to multiply our base UVs by the text scale. And so this is going to be the scaled output. And then we're also going to do another multiply down here. We're going to multiply the water scroll value, which is how fast the waves are going to move. So our UVs are going to be moving to simulate waves. We're going to multiply that by time. Just regular old time. And then we're actually going to add that to here. So after we do that, we can now connect this to here, and as you can see, I screwed something up. Oh, I did not screw something up. No, it's just, okay. That's right. Our sampler state for this one, we do not want to be clamp. We want it to be repeat. There we go. So now you can see it's kind of cool. It's moving, and we have variables that can control it a little bit. So I'm going to save there, drag this out, and you can see we have water moving. Of course, we have the parameters to control the water are set up, which is nice. So we can do that real quick. Go to planet matte. Texture's already in there. Smoothness, I feel like a value between maybe like 0.8 around there looks pretty good. The strength, you have to be careful right now. Don't change the strength too much. I think that looks fine. The water scroll is scrolling kind of a lot, but what we can do is water text scale. Can try putting that up. The normal map looks weird. I think I know what's going on. Okay, yeah. Got to make sure to mark this as a normal map. I should have recognized that actually when I was looking at the shader graph. Okay, there we go. All right. So there's our water. It's not always going to look super great up close, but I mean from far away, It doesn't look too bad. It's not that bad. And yeah, I should have realized that earlier because the normal map was like blue earlier, but when you sample it, I think it's supposed to look red, at least from what I've seen when I'm doing it correctly. So, we have that now. It looks decent. You can run the game, see how it looks there. And from far away, not bad. You can totally tell the water's moving. It's like nice and reflective. It looks actually pretty cool right now. But we can do a little bit better. So what we're going to do now is go back into our shader graph. And similarly to what we did, we're actually going to add three more variables. Almost exactly the same. This is going to be terrain noise. We're going to add a vector 2 called terrain text scale. And then finally a vector 1 called terrain noise strength. I'm gonna make sure I name all these correctly. Underscore terrain noise. Terrain text scale. Underscore terrain text scale. And then terrain noise strength is going to be underscore terrain noise strength. Okay. Terrain noise, as you might guess, is also supposed to be a bump map. Oh, the texture. I'm going to import just a random texture real quick that I have. Let's see. Let's just try wood. Let's just grab it. Let's just see. It's not really going to matter that much. You guys can find better ones. I'll also provide this, of course, but I'm sure y'all can find it just fine. So I'm going to paste that in there. So now we have that here. Terrain noise, make sure we grab this. So we have this there. The text scale, we want to have a default of 1, 1, and the strength also 1. So we got all this stuff, looks like it's set up correctly. And so very, very similarly, almost exactly the same, we're going to create, the text scale will be there. So here's the original UVs. So I'm honestly just going to, I'm going to drag the UVs. These are the original UVs before we scale them. I'm going to drag this down here. It's a little messy looking, but you know what, whatever. So water text scale we're going to get rid of, and we're going to put in the terrain text scale there. And then also very similarly, we're going to have almost all of this stuff, actually. So I copied all that, which is, I mean, I'm sure you guys can see it. Multiply, we're going to stick the output of the multiply there, so that's our scaled terrain text. Terrain noise, the actual texture goes in here. Default tangent, so also you notice this has not been marked as a normal map either, so we will need to fix that. And then terrain noise strength goes here. So we unpack the normal, and then instead of putting 1, 1, 1 in there, you just put that in there. Linear repeat, and yes. So if we save that, I'm going to exit out of shader graph, and you can see it obviously doesn't look quite correct because this is not a normal map yet. So we apply that, and all right. So we're going to generate the planet, and it's actually not taking effect at all, of course, because it's not in here. Okay, so we have that in. Terrain, the smoothness is only affecting the water, which we might need to do something about, actually. Oh, I seem to have did I do something incorrectly? Let's see. Let me look back at the shader. It doesn't look like it's actually being applied at all. Yeah, the original UVs go down into a multiply by terrain text scale. Looks right. that adds not needed, so the terrain noise property, a sampler state of linear repeat. We're sampling tangent space, terrain noise strength. So it actually looks fine to me. I wonder why it's doing that. Interesting. Alright, I'm back. It was a really silly error on my part. Wasn't even really a problem. I just had applied the noise norm or the bump normal map to the random shader, random material, instead of the normal planet material. So all I did was just apply that here, and then as you can see, we do have normal maps now, and the lighting looks a little bit better as well. So we have that all done. And so now we can maybe mess with the terrain scale a little bit, and you can see that it's changing. It's kind of giving us a little bit of like bumpy mountains or something, especially when you get up close, you can see that's in there. Obviously from up close it doesn't look amazing, but you know, it's fun to like mess around with a little bit. It almost looks like little height gradients or something from far away, which is cool. And then terrain noise strength you can mess with a little bit. I wouldn't mess with it too much, but you can kind of, the lighting can look kind of cool. Not if you go too far, but if you just, you know, do something like this maybe. It's not bad looking. Alright, so now that we have that done, all that's really left to do is just actually make this work with the random ones that we were making. And so since this stuff's already in, all we're going to need to do is go in to our project, and we will have to make, real quick, oh, I already made the random vector 2. You can pause the video and look at it if you want, but it's really simple. It literally just follows everything. The only thing that is different is that I just made this random xt method for random vector 2, but it's extremely simple. It's literally the same as random vector 3, except there's just 2 components to it. So, I mean, you can pause the video if you'd like, but yeah, it's very simple. So we will need that. I forgot that I made that. So now we have public random float, water, noise, strength. We're going to actually move the smoothness down here too. We're going to rename it to water smoothness. And just for the shits and giggles, we can say standard attributes. We're going to make some headers because this is getting pretty big. So back here, and this is going to be terrain attributes. This is going to be biome attributes. Atmosphere attributes. Atmosphere attributes. And then finally we will have water attributes. So the other 2 things is just going to be 2 random vector 2s. One of them is going to be water scroll, and the other one's going to be water scale. I'll say water text scale. Cool. So we have all that stuff in, and so now we can go into the planet generator. Oh, I lied. We need 2 more things up here. We need the we need terrain strength. Terrain strength. And we also need, sorry, I should really say terrain noise strength. And then we also need terrain text scale. Terrain text scale. Cool. Now we're good. So we added 4. Oh, in case you didn't know, it's Control RR to rename a variable. I'm sorry, I did not share that earlier. So now we have 4 new variables, 5 new variables that we have to make sure we get in. and they're all material stuff. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just to make sure, I am going to bring up this to make sure I named everything appropriately. Come on, shader graph. Let's go. Okay, so it's these ones that I want. Water noise strength. Yeah, I think I named them all right. So smoothness, water noise strength. We have water scroll, water text scale, terrain text scale, and terrain noise strength. So water noise strength, water scroll, that one's going to give you an error. Water text scale is also going to give an error. No, we want terrain text scale, which is also going to give us an error. And terrain noise strength. And this is just because these need to be set vector. Okay, so that's actually all good to go. I think that's all we need to do for here. So the last thing left to do is to go into, I'm going to save this again because I don't remember if I did. We're going to go into the planet settings, and Unity just crashed, so I will be right back with you guys. Okay, we're back. Unity is back up and running, and all we have left to do is put in the water attributes, which I did already. So you can look at these if you want, or you can mess around with them yourself. So I have 0.65, 1.2, 0.6, 1.1, negative 0.1 for both, 0.1 for both. Vertex scale, I have 2 and 2, 15 and 15. And I'm actually going to maybe change this to 3. It might be a little much, but I like to see crazy shit. And then finally, I did not do these two yet. So terrain noise strength, I wanted to look to see what I had here, which I can't because I have to do that. Alright, looks like it's, I could do something like 1 to 12, maybe like 2 to 10. I'll do 2 to 10, and for noise strength, I'll do like 0.5 to 1.2. Let's do that. So, planet generator. The strength I said was 0.6 to 1.2, and the text scale I said was going to be, actually we did not want to do that much for that, actually. We'll do it for 2 to 10. Alright, now let's hope it works. We're going to hit play, and voila. Water looks much better. I don't know what's happening to this dude over here. He's looking a little weird. I'm guessing it's because his lighting values are a little weird. The water might actually be too strong on that guy. Let's check. That's my guess, is that the water is too strong. Oh, it's not exposed. That's a bummer. I exposed it in my own one, but I forgot to do that here. I think that's the problem, though. So some of them you can see are going kind of crazy, and that's also probably because I made the values a little bit too strong for the water scroll. I literally just said I like seeing crazy shit, and I saw it, and I'm happy. But let's let's put that back down. And the water text scale is good. It was the noise strength, I believe, that was throwing us off. I think maybe if it's just, let's just try that. I think that might give us better results. Yeah, gives us a little bit better results for sure. And yeah, so I'm gonna go up in my scene. It appears that when the planets turn around, actually, there is an error with the darkness. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that. It only seems to be happening to some of the planets. So I'm wondering if that might be some sort of shader problem, or if it really is. I have no errors in the console, so real quick, let's see what is going on with that. But other than that, we are done. Oh, yeah, duh. I think it's... This just be the problem? Real quick, I'm going to look at my other project settings, because it seems to be working in there. And I'm going to go look to see what I have for that. And it looks like for that, the terrain strength is only at 0.6. So maybe we could try to keep capping that in there. And the scale might be a little bit too much too. It looks like for some reason I have negative in there, so I think my shader math could possibly be off by a little bit. But let's just try that for now and see if that fixes anything. Same with the water noise strength, maybe if we can bring that down too. See if maybe that'll help us out a bit. Well, that didn't help at all. Wow, look at that. Well, that's really disappointing, considering I just did this tutorial for a really long time. Okay guys, as you can see, I figured it out. It was something pretty silly. So I forgot that you can't just straight up multiply a normal by a number. There's like an algorithm to it. I believe it's the normal times 2 minus 1. And you take that and then the x and y component multiplied by the strength, not the z component, which I'm pretty sure is why we were getting that weird shading when the Earth was, or the planets were rotating. And so what you do to fix that is, I honestly didn't add much, so I'll go over it real quick. This is all the same. We're still sampling the texture just the same. We're still unpacking the normal, but what we're doing now is no multiply here. We are going to do a normal strength node, which does that calculation for us. And then we'll just pass the water noise strength into there, and we're just going to do the same exact thing here. So we're doing everything the same, except we are doing the strength after the unpacking. So sorry about that. I'm not super familiar. Like I do shaders sometimes, but it's not like a muscle memory thing for me. So I apologize for that. I apologize to you for lying again. I am sorry. And yeah, now that that's all hooked up, small change. Also, make sure you change these back to bump. I think I was screwing around with stuff. I'm not sure. I honestly don't remember if I changed it during the tutorial or not. Like, actually, yeah, the terrain noise right here is still white. So change those back to bump. Save the asset. And voila. This looks much more like it's supposed to. Now, the values are a little bit strong, but we can change that very quickly. The terrain text scale and terrain strength is a little too strong, so if we want to get like just a little bit of kind of grooves in there, maybe something like that looks pretty cool. It's not bad. Excuse me. And then for the water, maybe we can put this down to a little bit, like 2 or so it's a little bit lighter. And the texture scale is huge, so we can maybe put it back down to like 5 or something. And it's pretty big, or it's a little bit too much for up close, but when you zoom out, it looks pretty nice. Look at that. It looks very cool. So yeah, now the last thing to do is to just hide the planet, go back to planet generator, and some of these properties, I think I changed some of them since the last time. So you can take a look at these real quick if you want to pause the video. That's these ones, and then the terrain ones are up here. So I think this should be good to go. Let's see if it works. Aha, and finally we have planets they are shaded correctly. They're not going into random eclipses, and the water is pretty nice when you get up close. It looks pretty cool. Look at that. That's pretty awesome. Got this guy's going crazy. This is pretty cool. This one looks amazing. So yeah, you can obviously tune the values and whatnot, but there you go. We finally did it. I think this is going to be the last episode on this series unless people end up watching it and want more, which in that case I would be open to people's ideas, but at this point I think I have done most of the stuff that I want to do for this. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you did, please go and give Sebastian Lague's tutorials a like, a nice comment or something. That dude's amazing, and I had a lot of fun building off of his tutorials. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.